recovery to the normal consciousness. There were the these syncopal episodes were not these syncopal episodes were not associated with any or auditory disturbance. That is, there was no aura, no any jerky limb movements during the episodes, no involuntary urination, no defecation, no tongue bite, no prolonged confusion after episode. That is, no post-ictal confusion or any right or left limb weakness. These syncopal episodes were not associated with any chest pain or any palpitation. No history of fever, joint pain, or any rash. No history of hemoptysis, melena, or hematuria. No history of nausea, vomiting, anorexia, abdominal distension, or lower limb swelling. No history of sore throat or fleeting joint pain. Patient consulted to his family physician 1 month back, and he was advised for cardiology opinion and advice for echo. Echocardiography was done, and they have told him that he has some wall issue. Patient underwent one procedure from his right groin on 21st of Feb 2020, which he was himself telling that it was coronary angiogram and it was normal. Now the patient is admitted to Hinduja Hospital for further management of his disease. Patient past history, no history of similar complaints in the past, no history of hypertension, diabetes, rheumatic heart. Yeah, no significant past history. Personal history is also non-significant. No significant. Family history. Patient has his elder brother and he had a heart attack as per the patient, and he underwent angioplasty at the age of 60 years. So to Madam, history complete. So to summarize, 66-year male with a history of breathlessness on exertion and 2 episodes of syncopes since last 6 months with a wall issue as per the echocardiogram and angiography normal. Most likely, I would like to I would like to keep diagnosis as a left ventricular outflow tract obstruction at valvular level or at subvalvular level. At valvular level, most likely either it could be degenerative etiology as per his age is 66, or it could be because of the congenital issue like bicuspid aortic valve, and LV2 obstruction at subvalvular level could be hypertrophic cardiomyopathy.
You said his dyspnea is from 6 months, right?
Yes, madam. Since last 6 months.
With progress from class 2 to class 3, you said?
2 to class 3. Yes, madam.
What is the mechanism of dyspnea here?
In this patient, madam.
Yes.
In this patient, considering his age, if we consider it as in valvular obstruction, most probably because of left ventricular diastolic dysfunction, that may cause increase in the LVEDP, and that will lead to pulmonary venous congestion, or because of the low cardiac output state also, or because of pulmonary venous hypertension.
Low cardiac output will not cause dyspnea, right? It will cause what? What symptom? Low cardiac output?
Fatigue. Generalized fatigue will.
So can you tell me the mechanisms of dyspnea in a patient with cardiac disease?
Yes, madam. Mechanism dyspnea, like it may be because of the stimulation of the J receptors. J receptors are the juxtacapillary receptors present in the interstitial lung alveoli. Because of the interstitial edema, they get stimulated and stretch.
Who described these J receptors?
Yeah, sorry,
Who described these J receptors?
I don't know, madam.
Because he is an Indian.
A.C. Pental.
A.S. Paintal. A.S. Paintal, yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Then another
Indian scientist, yeah.
Yes. Another mechanism is because of the stimulation of the mechanoreceptors present in the respiratory tract, or because of the activity of central chemoreceptors, respiratory center mechanism, dyspnea can occur.
Any other mechanism? Respiratory, you can say lung hypothesis, muscle hypothesis. Anything else in the lung hypothesis? One is right.
Ventilation perfusion defect, they can cause dyspnea. Ventilation perfusion defect. VQ mismatch.
From left side disease, I'm asking.
Or because of the respiratory issues like.
Happens the lung compliance.
Compliance, yes. Vital capacity, reduction of the vital capacity or total lung capacity, that may also cause.
Venous hypertension
venous, pulmonary venous,
veins get dilated, there is
interstitial
accumulation of interstitial fluid. So all
Yes.
these can reduce the lung compliance. So the work of breathing will increase.
It will be increased. Yes, madam.
Then this also can lead to some bronchospasm.
Yes, madam.
Okay, what is this muscle hypothesis? Do you know? In heart
Mus-
failure?
Muscle hypothesis.
Yeah. Heart failure can lead to some kind of systemic inflammatory response. This can cause respiratory muscle myopathy. So
Okay.
that can also cause dyspnea. So this is described as a
Yes.
hypothesis. If it involves the skeletal muscle, it causes fatigue, this kind of myopathy. Have you heard of that or not?
No, never heard, madam.
No, you read in.
Well, this word I have not heard.
Okay, anyway, it's there. It's described.
Thank you.
Okay. Muscle hypothesis and lung hypothesis. Yeah. So there is systemic inflammatory response and muscle catabolism leading to respiratory muscle myopathy. If it involves the peripheral muscles, it causes fatigue. Okay. So you're talking about NVHA class.
Yes.
The first few questions in the exam will be always about these functional classes.
Yes, madam.
So you're happy with the NVHA class? It's a good one or any limitations here?
Yeah, it has limitations, madam. First
What
of
are
all,
the plus points?
first of all, it is subjective because what the patient is having complaints will not be same for other patient. So there will be inter or intra-observable variability.
One is subjective, yeah.
Yeah.
Different from heavy manual labor versus a sedentary worker. Correct. Second,
Or it will not be retrievable or reproducible. Second is like
reproducibility is less, especially between class 2 and class 3.
second is it do not involve symptom like syncope. So then third, it cannot be used in pediatric patients.
Actually, P&D is not included in the original description of NVHA class.
Other kinds of dyspnea like orthopnea, PND, trypopnea, or platypnea, they have not been described in this classification. Or then other fallacies like aggravating or relieving factor or treatment with diuretics. These have also been not described. And this NVHA classification is not not used for pediatric patients. And there is no absolute oxygen requirement cannot be calculated or measured by these.
Say class 1. What do you mean by class 1?
NYHA class 1 means patient is having cardiac disease with no limitation of any activity. Patient is comfortable at rest and ordinary physical activity will not cause any symptoms like angina, palpitation, fatigue, or dyspnea.
Okay, here another problem is beyond ordinary activity, whether patient develops symptoms is not there, right?
Yes.
So when you say class 1, it's almost like asymptomatic. Whereas in Canadian classification, it is there. Strenuous activity can cause angina. Okay. Yeah. So what is that good point of NYHA class? You said all negative. Anything? It's a simple one. Anybody can follow. Sisters, physiotherapy, anybody can follow this. No? It's very simple one.
Yes, madam.
So it is that way. It's good. Okay. So how is Canadian classification different from this?
Canadian Cardiological Society CCSC classification is used only for angina, madam. It is not used for other symptom like dyspnea, palpitation, or fatigue. As like an.
Okay. Then how is it different from this? These are the usual questions asked.
It is a little bit more objective compared to MIHA.
Yeah.
Like
objective?
Like that.
In that CCS, we basically calculate how much is the dyspnea depending on the activity and how much the patient can walk blocks. That means it is much more objective compared to the NYHA classification.
Yeah. What is one block?
One block equivalents to 80 meters.
How many blocks in 1 mile? No, these were the question asked in our last exam.
Mile. No.
Yeah, 1 mile, how many blocks? It's average of 12 actually. It varies from 8 to 20. So it's average of 12. You know what is 1 block, right?
Yeah, 1 block equals to 80 meters, madam.
No, no. What is that block? 1 block.
No, madam.
It's a distance between 2 streets in US and Canada. 2 streets, you know, between your 5th cross to 6th cross, like that. It is 1 block is the distance between 2 streets. So it varies from, they say average of 200 feet actually. You said 80 meters, huh?
Yes.
Then they were even asking how many furlong is 1 kilometer, you know? How many furlong is, 1 furlong is how many meters?
I think.
These are basics.
What 230 meters, ma'am?
Huh?
230.
Furlong is
230 meters.
200, just 200 meters.
Two-
How many furlongs is 1 kilometer and 1 mile?
8 furlongs is a mile, madam.
Okay. Kilometer?
Should be 5, ma'am.
5, correct. No, you think it's silly, but this, when you don't answer, it sounds not good. No, this was asked in our last DM exam. Okay. Okay. Can you briefly mention other functional classes, you know?
Other classification like for dyspnea, madam, or
No, overall, and then come to Disney.
overall classifications are NYHA classification, then Canadian Cardiovascular Society classification, then Goldman Specific Activity Scale, then for Modified Medical Research Council (MMRC) classification. That is for dyspnea only, respiratory issues only. The WHO classification is also there, madam.
WHO? No, tell.
WHO classification in which they have included syncope.
For
instead
what?
of- They have included syncope instead of palpitation.
No, it is for pulmonary hypertension.
Pulmonary hypertension. Yeah. Yes.
It's actually not syncope. If you go through, it is pre-syncope.
Pre-syncope.
Yeah, you're right. Then
Then Ross classification, Perloff's classification in congenital heart disease.
what is UCLA? Have you heard?
No, madam.
University of California, Los Angeles, for congenital heart disease. Do you read that adult Perloff? It's given in that. Anyway, you can go through that. UCLA classification for congenital heart disease.
Yes, ma'am.
There is some classification for atrial fibrillation also. What is 6-minute walk test?
Staff classification for it.
Huh? Staff classification. Correct. Yeah. What is 6-minute walk test?
6-minute walk test is also for dyspnea, madam, in which we ask the patient to walk for 6 minutes in corridor, and we test his functional capacity of for walking for dyspnea. This is mainly used in pulmonary.
Normally, how much should they walk? More than 400 meters. Huh?
Meters.
Okay. Then there are some classification of dyspnea you're saying, no? What is that?
Modified Medical Research Council, MMRC.
Okay. Beyond that, Vogue scale, you heard of modified Vogue scale, visual analog scale.
Granular scale, yes.
Those things, you should know what it is. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Then some two classification in peripheral vascular disease. Fontaine, Rutherford. Yeah. Who is that? Arun, huh? Fontaine is what, Arun?
Fontaine's classification is for chronic peripheral arterial disease. It is class 1 is patient is having not having any intermittent claudication. Class 2
asymptomatic. Peripheral vascular disease, no symptoms. Asymptomatic. Okay, then.
Asymptomatic. 2A is patient is having symptoms on walking for
Okay, 2 is
uh,
intermittent claudication. 2 intermittent claudication. Then you classify into A and
2A
B.
and 2B. 2 is intermittent claudication. 2A is on walking for more than 200 meters. 2B is on walking for less than 200 meters. 3 is rest angina, and 3 is rest angina, and 4 is
Rest pain.
tissue loss.
Not angina, no? Rest pain.
Sorry, rest claudication. Yeah, rest pain. Rest pain.
4 is
4 is tissue loss,
tissue loss,
Rest-
like ulcer, gangrene.
ulcers, and gangrene.
So do you remember Rutherford? Slight
Rutherford,
modification that actually. Yeah.
Rutherford is 0 is there. 0 is no asymptomatic. Then comes class 1. Under that there are 3 are
Three.
there, 1, 2,
Yeah.
and 3.
Mild, moderate,
So
severe.
mild claudication, moderate claudication, severe claudication. Then 4 comes in 4 and 5. There is like major tissue rest angina, rest pain. Then we have 5 is minor tissue loss, and 6 is major tissue loss.
Okay, correct. So, okay, in dyspnea, so we're coming back to. Have you not heard of these things, Subodha? You know?
Yes,
Hello,
heard.
our presenter.
Hello. Yes, ma'am. Heard, ma'am.
You heard? Okay. So, in dyspnea, have you heard of bendopnea?
Yes, madam. Bendopnea is a dyspnea on lying down for 30 seconds.
Bendopnea.
Bendopnea, yeah. Dyspnea on bending forwards for 30 seconds.
What does it indicate?
Bending forward.
It's suggestive of bending forward. It's suggestive of increased PCWP and low cardiac output. Profile C.
How to elicit this? What history you have to take for that? What is the
Patient
essential issue?
history, like a patient while tying his shoes, if he feels dyspnea, so that's suggestive of bendopnea.
Okay, okay. So you said there is no PND orthopnea, right?
Yes, madam. No orthopnea, no PND.
Anyway, you all are expert in mechanisms of PND and orthopnea, I suppose. So what is the prerequisites for these things? They develop orthopnea, PND. So what happens to the right side dysfunction? So they should have
Right
normal
heart
RV function. Yeah, normal RV function, correct. So only when there is normal RV function, these symptoms will be.
Agree with.
Yes. Praveen Raja is calling. Okay. Can they develop second episode of PND during the same night? That's a usual question asked.
Less likely, madam.
Why?
Because after lying down 2 to 3 hours after this PND episode starts, and these are one of the reason behind this is REM sleep, and which takes time to if patient has one episode of PND, then if to occur again PND, we'll have to again for REM sleep. That will not possible. So can happen, but very less likely, madam.
No, you should complete. See what happens when they get this symptom, they get up, then
These symptoms get relieved,
it will
madam.
take at least half an hour for those symptoms to subside. And meanwhile, there will be some diuresis. So when they go back to sleep, it will take another few hours. So by the time, maybe time to get up. Okay, usually no. These are the usual things asked. Okay. Then, so dyspnea here you think is diastolic dysfunction or systolic dysfunction? What is likely to be?
Most probably, it can be both, but diastolic dysfunction
Why do
is.
they develop diastolic dysfunction in AS?
Sorry, madam.
Why do they develop diastolic dysfunction?
Because of left ventricular hypertrophy, That will cause increased muscle mass, and that will raise LVEDP. So
to the mechanisms of systolic dysfunction, reduce EF. Why do you develop LV dysfunction? What are the mechanisms? What determines ejection fraction?
preload, afterload, heart rate, and contractility, LV contractility.
Okay. So what happens to preload here? Reduce, no? Because of the stiff LV, preload is reduced. So more important than that, what happens to the afterload?
Afterload get increased now.
Afterload increases. So what is it called? What is the compensatory mechanisms for increase in afterload? You know what is Laplace law, right?
Wall stress equals to pressure into radius divided by 2 into thickness.
So LV hypertrophy occurs. So if this hypertrophy is not adequate to the degree of obstruction, then LV fails.
LV fails. Yeah.
So what is it called?
Eccentric.
Afterload mismatch, described by Rahmatullah. Afterload mismatch. That is the most important mechanism for LV dysfunction in AS. That is why most often it is reversible. Once you remove that obstruction, afterload is reduced, so LV function becomes normal. So the last one is contractile dysfunction. Okay.
Yes.
Whereas in MR, most often it is because of contractile dysfunction. So here it is because of afterload and reduced preload. That is why even if, is there any contraindication for AVR depending on the EF? Even at 20-30% you do, no? Whereas in MR, below 30% is a contraindication for MER.
Yes,
Okay. Coming back to your second symptom, syncope. What is the definition? Just for
syncope is defined as a transient loss of consciousness with loss of postural tone and with complete and rapid recovery caused due to because of low cerebral perfusion, reduced cerebral perfusion.
something you left. Onset.
Sudden onset.
Right?
Sudden
Onset.
Sudden
Then
onset.
transient and recovery is
Rapid and complete recovery.
Complete and spontaneous recovery.
Spontaneous.
Complete and spontaneous recovery. Can you tell me what are the, you take 100 patients with syncope, how often it is, how do you classify causes of syncope?
Syncope can be classified as because of vascular cause or cardiac causes or because of mixed causes. Vascular causes involves anatomic, orthostatic or reflex mediated. Anatomic is because of subclavian steal syndrome. Orthostatic is because of autonomic imbalance or idiopathic or because of volume depletion or drugs, various drugs, including alcohol.
Okay. Yeah, it's neurocardiogenic, either because of vasovagal or your situational syncope. So that contributes to how much? What is the most common cause of syncope?
Most common cause is vasovagal syncope.
Around 60% of syncopes are because of neurocardiogenic. Then 15% postural hypotension. So among cardiac, how do you classify?
Among cardiac, arrhythmic and non-arrhythmic.
Structural heart disease, yes. So arrhythmic is around 10% and structural heart disease around 5%. Another 10% is idiopathic. So 60, 15, 10, 5 and 10. Okay. So now what are the structural causes which can cause syncope?
Structural heart disease like Brugada syndrome, dilated cardiomyopathy.
You're talking about arrhythmic.
Sorry, madam?
Arrhythmic. You're talking about arrhythmic causes. You want to say arrhythmic causes first? Brugada is arrhythmic. What structural heart disease they have?
Cardiac causes because of the obstruction, valvular obstruction at LV or RV. LVOT obstruction either because of the aortic at valvular because of aortic stenosis, or in case of severe mitral stenosis also can happen. And
Wait. Wait. LVOT obstruction, you said. What is the mechanism of syncope in LVOT obstruction?
Syncope in LVOT obstruction because of either it is because of the reduced fixed cardiac output, so reduced cerebral perfusion, or it may be because of transient AF associated with the LVOT
So
obstruction,
that
or
is, see, when you talk about syncope in LVOT obstruction, it is usually exertional.
exertional.
We'll come to that non-exertional syncope little later. Exertional syncope, as you said, one is it's fixed cardiac cardiac output, so they cannot increase cardiac output during exercise. Any other mechanism?
Other mechanism like malfunctioning of the baroreceptor mechanism, or because of the abnormal, or because of the activation of the basal reflex, which is
Stimulation of the mechanoreceptors. That is.
Or because of the calcification that may calcification of the conduction tissue, like AV node, that
all comes under arrhythmic. We are talking about exertional syncope. One you said is correct, decreased flows. Other is basal gyrus-like reflex, stimulation of the mechanoreceptors, which causes vasodilatation. Usually, you should get vasodilatation only in the muscles which are exercising. But here, there could be vasodilatation even in the upper limb muscles. So, there will be decreased cerebral blood flow. Okay. Now, other causes. Sometimes they may have syncope at rest. So, that could be because of atrial fibrillation, or as you are saying, AV block, calcific extension of calcification to the conduction system. Then ventricular arrhythmias. Yeah, these are the arrhythmic causes. Okay, fine. So here you said is exertional syncope.
Yes, madam, exertional syncope.
Okay. What are the other causes for syncope? You said LV inflow obstruction. Can it cause syncope? Is it common in mitral stenosis?
Madam, but it can cause, because of, in case of very severe mitral stenosis, which will cause low cardiac output state and dead cause, or because of associated pulmonary embolism, or associated with LA clot, or because of associated
in isolated MS, it may occur when there is a severe pulmonary hypertension, severe PH, or ball valve thrombosis. These are the two
usual causes
mechanisms described in MS. Otherwise, per se, we see so many MS. I hardly hear any. Very rarely they complain of syncope. What disease which mimics MS can have syncope?
MS mimics like LA clot, then
LA myxoma. LA clot occurs when in MS. LA myxoma.
LA myxoma.
Yeah. What's the triad of symptom in LA myxoma?
Triad. You are asking about Carney's complex, right?
No. Triad of symptoms in LA myxoma.
Patient will have
obstructive, embolic.
Obstructive, embolic. Then third one, constitution.
Symptoms.
Constitution. Okay. Then right side.
Right side because of RVT obstruction like pulmonary stenosis, or because of pulmonary embolism, or in severe pulmonary artery hypertension.
Pulmonary hypertension, yes. Pulmonary embolism is an acute cause. We'll come to that little later. Yeah, pulmonary hypertension. Severe pulmonary hypertension, they cannot increase cardiac output during exertion, so they are prone for syncope. That is why you have WHO classification, syncope is added in place of palpitation, or pre-syncope is added. Okay. PS also, severe PS, sometimes rarely you may have. Any other causes?
Pericardial disease also can have syncope, madam.
You can be asked, what are the acute causes for syncope? Patient comes with an episode of syncope.
Aortic involvement, aortic dissection can cause.
Aortic dissection, pulmonary embolism, cardiac tamponade, acute MI. Acute MI. These are the 4 things you should be telling. Acute MI, either because of AV block, arrhythmia, or they may come with history of syncope. Okay. So here, now you have 2 symptoms, exertional.
Dyspnea.
No angina, you said, right?
No angina as per the patient.
Okay. So what are the mechanisms of angina in LVOT obstruction?
Angina because of in LVT obstruction because of increased left ventricle hypertrophy. There will be the increased LV myocardial oxygen demand, but supply will not be that much. So LV myocardial oxygen demand supply mismatch will cause angina, or because of the increased LVDP, there may be compression of the intramyocardial coronary vessels that may cause subendocardial ischemia, and that can lead to angina. Or associated with coronary disease can cause calcific coronary emboli. Associated with CAD, and because of emboli, calcific emboli can lodge in the coronaries, and that may also cause.
It's acute. That will be acute coronary.
Yeah, that will be acute coronary.
So what happens to the coronary perfusion? You said one is increased demand. That is because of increased myocardial mass. Then what happens to the ejection time here? Yes.
Ejection
It's prolonged.
Prolonged.
Time.
Is very high.
Another factor to increase the demand. Okay. Supply is reduced because of one, the capillary density is not there. So the hypertrophy is there. There is no capillary increase in capillary density. Then coronary perfusion is reduced. Why?
Because of diastolic.
You said something. LVDP increases. So what happens to the coronary perfusion pressure? What is coronary perfusion pressure?
Diastolic pressure minus LV and diastolic pressure.
LVDP. Yeah. So coronary perfusion pressure is reduced. Okay. Right. What are the other symptoms you expect in AS? You said something in the negative history.
Madam, this bleeding from his stools.
Okay. Due to?
Angiodysplasia of colon, Hedges syndrome, also known as, right?
Due to?
Because of reduced high molecular weight von Willebrand factor, or because of shear stress induced platelet aggregation.
It's basically von Willebrand factor deficiency.
Yeah.
Is it corrected by AVR? Is it corrected by aortic valve replacement? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't know, madam. Yes.
Huh? Yes. Okay.
It's corrected by AVR.
Okay. So, any other differential diagnosis?
Madam, at subvalvular level, LVT obstruction at subvalvular level, like hypertrophic cardiomyopathy.
Hypertrophic. Do they present at this age or any specific age group they present?
Madam, they can present from infancy to elderly age group, but the studies they have told that the mean age of presentation is around 28 years, second to third decade.
Okay, fine. They can present at any age.
At any age, mean age seems to so studies. Ma'am, et al. Have explained that 28 years is the mean age of presentation of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy.
Okay. So, if it is, you said it is degenerative. Which is the most common cause of aortic stenosis?
This age group, degenerative is the most common. Otherwise, rheumatic heart disease is the most common, valvular heart disease. But as per this age, 66 years old patient, I would like to consider degenerative.
Common on bicuspid aortic valve.
Yeah, bicuspid aortic also. Yeah, madam, it can also be.
Yeah, bicuspid is the most common actually. Even in our country, bicuspid is most common, I think. What we see, yeah.
Yes.
When do they develop AS?
In bicuspid aortic wall, madam. In bicuspid aortic wall, second decade they start sclerosis aortic wall, and at fourth decade they start developing calcification.
After fourth decade.
Fourth decade is the
fifth, yeah, 1 decade earlier. So even in 6th, 7th decade, some 25% of them may have bicuspid aortic.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what is the importance of identifying bicuspid aortic valve?
Importance is like in view of treatment options, madam, like the newer therapy is like transcatheter aortic wall replacement.
Before that, what do you look for? What are the associations of bicuspid
Aortic root dilatation.
Other
Yeah,
other
they're prone for
conditions.
aortopathy. More than 60-70% will develop aortic root dilatation, aortopathy. Which part of aorta is involved in bicuspid aortic valve?
Ascending
Ascending aorta is divided into sinus portion, that is root, and the
aortic root.
tubular portion, the distal ascending aorta. Which part is involved most often?
Root, the proximal part. Root is most.
No, in that is called Marfan's step. In Marfan's, classically, sinuses are involved, whereas in bicuspid aortic valve, usually above the sinotubular junction, most common. So you have to look for that because sinuses may be normal. You have to look for the dilatation of ascending aorta beyond the sinotubular junction. So that is important. Whenever you are doing a valve replacement, what is the cutoff to replace the ascending aorta? When you're doing valve replacement?
4.5 centimeters if it is associated
In
with
height.
bicuspid aortic valve.
Huh?
4.5 centimeters.
45 mm.
45 millimeter, whatever it is, maybe Marfan's, anything. When you're replacing the valve, it is the cutoff value is 45 millimeter. Okay, we'll come back to the case. What are the rare causes for AS?
Rare causes like alkaptonuria, ochronosis, and type 2 hyperlipoproteinemia. They are the very rare causes.
Familial hypercholesterolemia. Radiation.
Type
Should
2 hyper.
Radiation. Huh? Radiation.
Deviation.
Radiation. Radiation. Just radiation. Mediastinal radiation. For cancer.
Yes, ma'am. Radiation. Okay.
Radiation therapy.
Radiation.
Okay. Do you expect subaortic stenosis, supravalvular stenosis at this age?
Subaortic stenosis could be, madam.
Mixed obstruction. Usually, when do they present?
In early childhood, in first and childhood.
Children, adolescents, young adults. Okay. Anything else?
No, madam.
Any other things you want to discuss? We'll go to the examination.
Yes, madam.
Okay.
General examination. My patient is conscious, cooperative, well oriented to time, place, and person, moderately built and nourished. Weight is 78 kg, height is 168 centimeters. Body mass index is 27.63 kg per meter square. No pallor, no icterus, no clubbing, no cyanosis, lymphadenopathy, or lower limb edema. Back and spines are normal. Temperature is febrile by the.
Once again, yesterday or some 2-3 days back, I heard somebody telling no clubbing. That patient has later he said clubbing. So
No
don't
clubbing.
be too mechanical. Not in this patient. Some 2-3 days back, I heard you one of you presenting that usual pickle you will present no clubbing, no clubbing. Then that patient had cyanosis and clubbing. So don't be too mechanical. Think and present. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Pulse is 74 per minute, regular.
So nothing positive in general examination, is it?
Nothing. Pulse is 74 per minute, regular. Low volume, slow rising pulse. No radioradial delay, no radiofemoral delay. All the peripheral pulses are felt. Bilateral carotid artery is shows carotid trill palpation by in pulse examination only. Blood pressure.
When did it radial delay?
Radioradial delay can be seen in interrupted aortic arch or thoracic outlet syndrome or coarctation
What
of
type
aorta.
of interruption you get?
Sorry, madam.
What type of interruption you get? This radio. You know, interruption is classified into A, B, C because you only brought that issue. Interruption is so rare. You should not have told that as the first cause.
Type 2.
See, this is what you get into trouble. So once you say interruption, you should know what you're talking about. What is A, B, C?
They are classified as
Whose classification is that?
modified cell
Patton.
and Patton classification is that. Modified cellular and Patton classification is.
Celoria pattern.
Divided
Type
into
A
three
is
B and C. Type A is beyond subclavian artery. Type B
it
is in
is
between.
like coarctation, yeah.
Type B is
Distal
in
to
between.
left subclavian, yes.
Type B is in between left subclavian and carotid.
Left common carotid, you should be specific.
Left common carotid.
You
And
should tell me left or right now.
yes, madam. And type C is proximal to
Don't
left
be in
common
a hurry. You think and tell slowly, no hurry.
Yes, madam. Type A is beyond
Okay, understood. Yeah, understood. C is
type C is proximal to left common carotid artery.
proximal to left common carotid. In between left common carotid and denominator. Fine.
No,
So what?
yes.
Which is the most common here?
Type B is most common, madam, in between left subclavian and left common.
So in those patients, you may get
Radio.
maybe. Okay, then first you should not tell. Always tell common things first.
Coarctation
Put
of
it first, coarctation of aorta with not all coarctation, no? Left subclavian origin distal to the coarctation.
distal.
Left subclavian artery origin distal to the coarctation. Rarely right subclavian can be distal to coarctation, around 3%. Otherwise, if it is proximal,
Not sure, madam.
yeah.
What is
Huh?
lower limit?
Anything? Yeah, yeah. If the subclavian origin is distal to the coarctation, left subclavian origin, then left upper limb pulse will be weaker than the right upper limb. Okay, what are the other causes? It's not actually delay, it is difference in the blood pressure. What are the other causes of difference in blood pressure in the left and right upper limbs?
Thoracic outlet syndrome, then classical BT shunt, supravalvular aortic stenosis because of Coanda effect, obliterative like thrombus, tumor, atherosclerotic, Takayasu arteritis also.
Takayasu, that should have come first actually. The first should be Takayasu, then coarctation with,
Yes,
then iatrogenic, of course. Iatrogenic?
iatrogenic, classic BT shunt.
Radial.
Whenever you use radial artery cannulation or radial artery can be taken for bypass grafting.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Even after radial angiogram, how often they lose the pulse?
25% radial artery.
25 is too much, I think.
10%.
5 to 10.
Huh?
5 to 10.
10%. 10%. 9 to 10%.
Just check it. I don't know whether it is so high. I thought it is less than 10% anyway. Okay. So don't tell mechanically things, so you'll get into all these sorts of things. Okay. So in these patients with aortic stenosis, do you expect a radiofemoral delay?
No, madam. In coarctation of aorta, we expect radiofemoral delay.
See, bicuspid aortic, how often it is associated with coarctation of aorta?
It is associated with.
Yeah, it is around 13% or so. So whenever there is bicuspid aortic valve, you have to look for these two things. One is aortopathy, second is coarctation of aorta. Many a times it's missed.
Yes.
Okay. So what do you mean radiofemoral delay? How much delay is necessary to be accepted by our hand?
Madam, for femoral artery, it is 80 and 75, and radial artery it is 80 milliseconds. The time duration. So, if it is more than that,
No, it should be more than 20 milliseconds. Delay should be more than 20 milliseconds to be appreciated. So it's better to appreciate brachiofemoral delay because already there is 15 millisecond delay. Right? This is what is given in Parloff.
yes.
Can use brachiofemoral. Usually it is radiofemoral, but is better appreciated. So, Go ahead. So you said it's slow rising, huh?
Low volume, slow rising pulse, and carotid thrill is present, madam.
Which is more important for assessment of severity? Slow rising.
Low pulse, madam. Low volume, slow rising pulse.
No, which is more important among this? Low volume or slow rising?
Low rising pulse is more important. Pulses,
Low rising.
Stardust is
Parvus is due to what?
Parvus is because of low volume, narrow blood pressure, low blood pressure,
Low cardiac output.
low cardiac
Slow rising, sustained. Huh?
rising and late peaking system.
Yeah. In which patients is so it's a marker of severe aortic stenosis. In which patients you may not get this slow rising pulse in spite of severe aortic stenosis.
If the patient having severe aortic is also having a aortic regurgitation, or patient is having hypertension, in that or if elastic arteries, patient is having elastic arteries like elderly or in high cardiac output states in children or in infants, will not able to get this slow rising pulse.
Okay. Also in supravalvular aortic stenosis because
of coend, pulse will be
right carotid is better felt, no? So it may be appreciated in the left but right side. Not able to appreciate. Okay. What is Harvey's formula? What is Harvey's sign?
Harvey's sign is murmur due to valvular aortic stenosis will be better heard in right second.
What is aortic regurgitation?
Aortic regurgitation. Sorry, aortic regurgitation will be better heard in valvular aortic regurgitation. It will be better heard in left third intercostal space, whereas the due to aortic root dilatation will be better heard in right second intercostal space. That is Harvey's rule.
What is Harvey's formula?
Harvey's formula is in HOCM we get. That is
Stenosis first. What's a pulse is?
okay. Whenever we feel brisk pulse, we will think of aortic regurgitation, and we will think of auscultating for aortic auscultating for a diastolic murmur. But on we expect a diastolic murmur, early diastolic murmur. Rather, there will be a systolic murmur. In such a case, we should suspect HOCM.
Not you do make the stand
dynamic auscultation
increases, squat murmur decreases. So you feel a brisk pulse, so you expect it to be AR. Then you auscultate, instead of diastolic murmur, you hear a systolic murmur in the left sternal border. You make the patient stand, murmur increases, squat murmur decreases. The diagnosis is HOCM. This is in relation to LVOT obstruction, how to differentiate. Okay, go ahead.
Blood pressure, madam. Blood pressure 100 by 76 millimeters of mercury in the right arm supine, and 96 by 74 millimeters.
Pressure in AS. It's a soft sign. What happens?
Sorry, madam, not good.
What happens to the blood pressure in a severe aortic stenosis?
Only decapacitation occurs, madam. So blood pressure will be around 110. Systolic blood pressure is around 110 or less than 110.
Systolic blood pressure is low and pulse pressure is
narrow.
Narrow. What is pulse pressure?
Pulse pressure is around in this patient 76, 24, madam.
What is proportional pulse pressure?
Proportional pulse pressure is
pulse pressure divided by systolic pressure. What does it indicate? Anybody?
Ma'am, it indicates
pulse pressure, systolic
stroke volume.
And diastolic pressure is 80. So what is the pulse pressure now? 20. So 20 by 100 is 20%. So if it is less than 25%, cardiac index is less than 2.2. So it low cardiac output. Did you get it?
Ma'am, less than how much, ma'am?
25%. Proportional pulse pressure is pulse pressure divided by, this is a very commonly asked question in the exam. Proportional pulse pressure divided by systolic pulse pressure, systolic blood pressure. So if it is less than 25%, the cardiac index is less than 2.2 liter per meter square. Okay.
JVP. Hello.
So how much is proportional pulse pressure here?
Here, madam, it is.
No, you should apply whenever you read something, whenever you learn something. Apply, then you will remember. This one time, how much you said, BP?
So, madam, 100/76.
100/76. That means 24/100. It is 24%. So cardiac index is around 2.2 or so. Okay, fine.
JVP. JVP is 2 centimeter above the sternal angle, not rest, pulsatile, normal waveform, A wave prominent than V wave, normal respiratory variation, abdominal jugular reflux is negative, respiratory rate is 18 per minute.
Wait, something about JVP. You said 2 centimeter from sternal line. How did you examine JVP?
We can, madam, initially it was told that we have to do in only 45 degree, but now the recent concept we can do in 30 degree also, 45 degree also, or in the sitting position also.
What is important? You should see the upper level.
Upper level is important. Madam.
Okay, if JVP is elevated, you will not see the upper level in 45 degrees. It will be intracranial. So even to start with, you can see the JVP in sitting posture. If it is seen above the clavicle, then it is abnormal. You can measure the height in the same posture. If it is not seen, then you have to decrease the angle to 45 or 30, wherever you see the upper level. The most important thing is you should see the upper level of the JVP. Then you take the vertical height. Okay. Then abdominal jugular reflex, how do you do? Briefly you tell.
We give firm pressure over the periumbilical region.
You will go and press the patient's abdomen.
No, first we rub our hands and we'll tell the patient that we are doing this test. We'll explain him, and then we give firm pressure over the periumbilical region. And
We'll explain. Otherwise, what happens? You go and press. I've seen students going and pressing. How demonstrate means they'll just go and press. So what will happen to the patient?
In case if patient is having congestive cardiac failure and if patient is having hepatomegaly or tender hepatomegaly, that will cause pain to the patient. And
even otherwise, if somebody comes and presses his abdomen, what will you do? You'll try to hold, no, reflexly. It becomes Valsalva. So what is the idea of doing this for abdominal jugular reflex?
To see the to see for incipient heart failure.
Okay, what do you do by compressing the abdomen?
We compress the abdomen for 10 to 15 seconds, and we see for the JVP elevation or not.
By doing that, you increase the venous return.
Yeah, we increase the venous return.
Yeah, if it does Valsalva, there will be a decrease in the venous return. So always any procedure if you are doing, you have to explain to them, breathe normally, you are going to press. Otherwise, even during your passive leg raising, you should explain. Otherwise, patient will hold the abdomen. So increase venous return. Your idea is to increase the venous return. So if they do Valsalva, there will be decrease in venous return. So always during hand grip, abdominal jugular reflex, and leg raising, you have to explain and tell them to breathe normally. Don't do Valsalva. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Other things, I know you know it. Yeah.
Continue, madam. Next.
So we should do this abdominal jugular reflex only when the JVP is normal. Hello?
Yes, madam. Yes.
Lot
Hello?
of disturbance was there.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the correlation with the LV and diastolic pressure?
With raised AJR positive suggests of increased left ventricular and diastolic pressure, ma'am.
How much?
More than 15
15 millimeter.
millimeters.
Yeah.
Respiratory rate is 18 per minute, regular, abdominal thoracic. Saturation is 97% by pulse oximetry. Systemic examination, cardiovascular. Inspection and
So far,
palpation.
what is your impression, no?
Madam, sorry.
So far, what is your impression? What is the positive finding? Only the pulse, right?
Positive finding is, madam, pulse and blood pressure, madam. Blood pressure is also showing narrow pulse pressure, madam.
Okay.
Pulse is also low volume, slow rising. And carotid thrill is also present, madam, in pulse.
Okay, go ahead.
Inspection and palpation combined. Chest is bilaterally symmetrical. Apex beat is located in the left fifth intercostal space, 1.2 centimeter medial to the mid-clavicular line. It is localized and medial retraction. LV type. It is heaving in character. Palpable S4 is present at the apex.
What do you mean by heaving?
Heaving means, madam, forceful and sustained, and it lies up to S2 or beyond S2 or more than 2/3 of the systole. The rest of the pressure overload states, madam, heaving character.
Okay, suppose this apical impulse is shifted out or down. What comes to your mind?
Maybe there may be cardiomegaly, or it could be because of LV dysfunction also can happen, or because of associated resurgent lesions like this aortic regeneration or mitral regeneration can cause, or long set.
LV shifted out and down, you have to think of these three things. One is AR, MR, and LV dysfunction.
LV dysfunction.
So here it is. See, pure aortic stenosis,
It do not.
position will be normal, right? Because there is no
There is no eccentric hypertrophy.
dilation of LV. LV is concentric hypertrophy. So you get apical impulse normal position, but heaving. Okay, when do you suspect LV dysfunction in AS? As another, the same thing asked in a different way. To assessing LV dysfunction, LV function in AS, when the apical impulse is
Down and out, and it is hypertonic.
not hyper, same heaving only, sustained.
Sustained.
Yeah, in AR, MR, when do you suspect LV dysfunction? Usually you get hyperdynamic LV. When do you suspect LV dysfunction?
When systolic thrust.
Sustained apical impulse. The LV becomes sustained, you suspect LV dysfunction. When do you suspect LV dilatation?
In this patient, madam.
Any patient by examination of apical impulse, you can suspect LV dilatation.
If apex goes downward and outwards, in that case.
Becomes diffuse also. It occupies more than your 2.5 centimeter, whatever you say. It's supposed to be quite sensitive and specific for LV dilatation. Sometimes it may be shifted out down because of various other reasons.
Yeah, because of
Just deformities.
chest deformity. Yeah.
So this is supposed to diffuse apical impulse is supposed to be sensitive and specific for LV dilatation. Okay.
Palpable
S4.
S4 present at apex. Apico
What does
carotid.
it mean to you?
Palpable S4 is a more sensitive and specific sign for aortic stenosis, madam.
Yes, aortic stenosis or severity?
Severe aortic stenosis.
Severe aortic stenosis.
Yes, madam.
In HOCM, does it tell you severity? What is the significance of S4 in? This is a usual question. S4 in HOCM, S4 in AS.
In AS, it signifies severity, but in HOCM, it does not tell about the severity.
Yeah, it's a universal finding. It's always there. But classically, you get a double apical impulse. Even without obstruction, you can get S4. What are the prerequisites for S4?
Atrial contraction should be good, madam, and LV function should be normal with normal regular rhythm should be sinus.
Forceful atrial contraction. Okay. So, see, in MR, you'll have MR with sinus rhythm, chronic MR with sinus rhythm. Do you get S4? No.
No.
LA will be dilated, so we won't get.
LA will be compliant.
Mitral
prop-
valve will also be normal.
Three things. One is forceful atrial contraction. Second is unobstructed AV valve. Third is
Non-compliant LV.
Sinus rhythm.
non-compliant LV. So these are the three prerequisites for S4. So any one is missing, then you will not get S4. In AS, you have all the three, unless they develop atrial fibrillation. How much atrial contribution to LV filling in severe aortic stenosis?
20%.
Huh? 20, yeah. Normal itself is
40%.
Yeah, it may go up to 40%.
Yeah.
Normal is
40%.
10 up to 40.
Yeah, yeah. That is why they worsen suddenly when they develop atrial fibrillation. This atrial pump or atrial boost is very important in aortic stenosis, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Okay. In acute MR, you can get S4. Not in chronic MR. Okay. Go ahead.
Apicocarotid delay is present, madam. No palpable ST. No.
For epicarotid delay.
It suggests severe aortic stenosis, madam.
No, how did you look for it?
We simultaneously palpate over the apex as well as the carotid.
Carotid. Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. You were able to appreciate?
Yes, madam. In this patient, I am able to appreciate.
Yeah, that is supposed to be better.
Better sensitive.
Delayed. It's better, easier to appreciate than the slow. Okay, go ahead.
No palpable S2, no parasternal hue, no palpable click. Systolic thrill is present at second right intercostal space. No scar, no sinuses, no dilated vein, no impulse or on the back. Percussion. Upper border of the liver dullness is in the fifth right intercostal space, mid-clavicle line, and stomach tympani is on the left side. Left heart border corresponds to the apex. Right heart border is retrosternal. Left second intercostal space is resonant. Auscultation.
Normal.
Yes, madam. Percussion is normal.
Usually nowadays they ask before auscultation, what is your impression? You are supposed to get all the hemodynamic data by inspection, palpation, and other things.
So we have low volume, slow rising pulse with carotid thrill and narrow pulse pressure.
You have to interpret and tell. Don't tell again the same findings. Tell your interpretation of these things. What will be the hemodynamics?
Severe aortic stenosis, madam.
Yeah, its LV is
LV systolic pressure seems to be very high, so approximately 250 millimeters of mercury.
So LV is pressure overloaded.
Yes.
Okay. Is there any evidence of pulmonary hypertension?
No, madam. There is no palpable P2, no loud ST.
Do you get pulmonary hypertension? Do you expect pulmonary hypertension in this patient?
No, madam.
No. You said dyspnea class 3? Dyspnea class 3 is suggestive of what?
Yes, madam. Yes.
Pulmonary venous hypertension, right?
Yes, madam.
Moderate pulmonary venous hypertension. So whenever there is pulmonary venous hypertension, what happens to the pulmonary artery pressure?
It increases, madam.
It will go up, no? What type of pulmonary hypertension is this? Precapillary or
Passive,
postcapillary?
pre-cap, post-capillary.
Postcapillary,
Type 2.
passive pulmonary hypertension. So don't say that grade 3 dyspnea and then normal PFBC. You may not be able to appreciate, but you
Yes,
have to tell. Yeah, because dyspnea Grade 3 means, class 3 means moderate pulmonary. What is the pulmonary venous pressure you expect?
In grade 3 dyspnea, madam. In
Hmm.
grade 3, it's
18 to 24.
24, yeah. In grade 4, it is more than 24.
So then what will be the PA in pressure?
LA pressure,
LA pressure is how much? LA pressure is almost same as
same as
pulmonary venous. Yeah, how much?
PA pressure will be elevated, madam. It will be more than 25, 20 to 30.
What is the transpulmonary gradient?
Transpulmonary gradient is difference between this mean aortic pressure and sorry, apna, pulmonary mean pulmonary artery pressure and left atrial pressure, PCWP.
So how much is?
13 is considered.
Normally it is less than 10 to 12 millimeter mercury. Okay. So, okay, you can add some 10. 25 plus 10 is 35 in pressure. So there will be some mild pulmonary arterial hypertension also, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All these things you are supposed to derive your findings and examination. Okay. What is the diastolic gradient?
Diastolic gradient.
Diastolic gradient between pulmonary diastolic pressure and the pulmonary capillary wedge pressure. It should be less than 7 millimeter mercury. Nowadays, they are giving more importance to this than the transpulmonary gradient. Okay. Okay.
Auscultation.
You expect some pulmonary venous hypertension, pulmonary artery. These things you should look for when you examine.
Okay.
So, do you get pulmonary arterial pH in AS or not? Only in MS you get, or you can get in AS also? How often you get?
We can get also, madam, in AS patient also.
Yeah, late stages when they develop a dysfunction. Naturally, they have pulmonary hypertension.
Yes.
How much it is, Arun?
25 to 30.
15%.
It depends.
25%.
Yeah, Bronwald gives some 20-25%, I think. It depends on series. Okay. And it depends on what stage you are examining. Okay, go ahead.
Auscultation. First heart sound is normal. Second heart sound is single. Mostly it is P2
First
component.
heart sound, S1.
First-
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So what do you expect in severe aortic stenosis? S1.
It can be normal, madam. Severe aortic stenosis.
When patient has said LV dysfunction. LVDP is raised, you said. This patient has a class 3 dyspnea.
Yeah, because of S1 can reduce intensity also, madam. Because raised LVDP can cause premature closure of the mitral valve.
Yeah, you
Or-
get a soft S1. You may get a soft S1. So you should know what can happen. Even if you hear a normal S1, it's okay, but you should know
Yes, madam. Yes.
what can happen to S1. S1 can be soft, and especially when the LVDP, in this patient you are saying LVDP is increased, S1 can be soft. Okay, S2.
S2 is single, madam.
What are the causes for single S2 in AS?
It is because of calcification and immobility of the aortic leaflet, so will cause A2 mute or A2 inaudible, or P2 component get buried in the ejection systolic murmur of AS, or because of the prolonged left ventricular ejection time, increase LVET, the A2 will be moved towards the P2, A2 moving into the
A2,
P2.
P2 can be fused, A2 can be muffled, and it is calcified. So, how often you hear paradoxic split? What do you mean by paradoxic split of S2?
Paradoxical split suggests means the A2 this A2 P2 occurs, madam. This pulmonary components occurs early and A2 gets delayed because of very high left ventricular ejection time. The A2 gets delayed, so that will cause paradoxical split S2 or reverse split S2.
But that is the explanation. Clinically, how will you make out? That is what is.
The split that is heard during expiration and not during inspiration.
That should be the answer when you asked. Paradoxic split clinically, it is single second sound during inspiration. During expiration, you hear the split. Of course, the second component is A2. So in younger age, you may hear because the A2 will be audible. But in elderly, when it is calcified, A2 will be muffled. So you may not hear the A2. Okay. Paradoxical split is hardly heard in some 10% of the patients. What is the significance?
Just severe aortic stenosis, madam.
Severe aortic stenosis. Okay.
And this gradient of more than 50.
What about your P2 now? It is normal.
Gradient more than 50 or 70, ma'am?
70. All these
70.
indicate more than 70.
70.
S4 delayed stroke. Okay, then
No S3,
P2?
no
P2 is normal.
P2 is normal, madam.
Parasternally, you also said no epigastric pulsations. Maybe it's elderly. Is he smoker?
No, he didn't give any history of smoking or alcohol.
Okay. So though you're not able to appreciate in the final, you have to tell, right?
Okay.
Okay.
No S3, no S4, no opening snap or a click. Murmur. There is ejection.
You should be more careful in auscultating the P2 because here you don't have it. When do you say P2 is loud?
We say P2 is loud when we can hear P2 in apex also, madam, or associated signs of pH is
When
there.
it is very loud, very loud. So P2 equal to A2 itself becomes
Loud P2.
gradient pH, right? Have you heard of that gradient? See, normally which sound is louder in pulmonary area?
A2 component is
A2. So when the P2 becomes equal to A2, it is mild pH. P2 is louder than A2, it is moderate. When the P2 is loud, banging and heard in other areas, it is severe pH. So P2 is very useful in assessing pH. So in this patient, maybe there is, if you heard the P2 means that elderly person with the thick chest wall, or you said some BMI of
27 years. 27.
So if you hear P2 itself, it may be loud. You don't have A2 to compare with. Okay. Go ahead.
Murmur. There is ejection systolic murmur, grade 4 by 6 intensity.
You just stopped at S3. Then what happened to S4?
No auscultatory S4, madam. No S3, no S4. I could only appreciate the palpable S4 and not this auscultatory S4.
Why is that? Why didn't you hear S4?
Low frequency.
Low frequency, maybe better felt than heard.
Better palpable. S4 is better palpable than
S4 maybe. Okay. Any other sound you look for may not be very
aortic
appreciable in this patient. Younger age, what else you look for?
aortic ejection sound or aortic ejection click I would like to look for, madam.
Ejection click. So where is it best heard?
Best heard at apex, but it can
Apex.
also be the base or overall the precordial. But best is in the apex.
Apex, yeah. Is it phasic or non-phasic?
It is non-phasic, madam. Aortic.
What do you mean by phasic?
The respiratory variation.
Okay. So you don't hear here. Even if it is bicuspid aortic coil, you may not hear because
It suggests only of the level of the lesion, that is valvular or not. It doesn't suggest you of any severity.
no, it gets when the valve gets calcified. What is this bicuspid ejection click due to?
It occurs because of a sudden abrupt cessation of the opening of the domed aortic valve.
When it is calcified, yeah.
Calcified.
Echo equivalent is dooming. So when it is calcified, you will not hear this A2 and opening snap, they go together, right? Like your S1 and opening snap in Sorry, A2 and ejection click, they go together. If valve is calcified, you'll not hear both of them.
Ma'am, it is phasic click or not phasic?
No, it's
Because
not
it is
phasic.
valvular, no? Ma'am?
No, it is not phasic.
Not phasic.
Phasic is only valvular pulmonary stenosis. Okay.
Murmur. There is ejection systolic murmur, grade 4/6 intensity, best heard at the right second intercostal space, radiation to both the cavities and as well as to the apex. This is harsh frequency, mixed frequency murmur, crescendo decrescendo, long and late peaking murmur. This murmur is best heard with diaphragm of the stethoscope and in leaning forward position during expiration. Intensity of the murmur.
You don't have to tell that when the murmur is already loud, all this bending forward, expiration, that is to pick up a soft murmur. Okay, it's already grade 4 murmur. They
Dynamic
bounce again. Huh?
Should I tell Madam dynamic auscultation?
No. It's already loud murmur, no?
Okay.
It's already grade 4 murmur,
Yes,
long, loud, late
long
peaking.
murmur.
See, you said something about frequency. What is frequency and what is pitch?
Mixed frequency, madam.
No, what do you mean by frequency? What do you mean by pitch? Same, you use interchangeably, right?
Yes, madam. Frequency equals to pitch. Yes.
Frequency is what is recorded. Pitch is what is heard. Okay. What you hear is you express as pitch. Frequency is recorded. So what determines this frequency of a murmur?
Gradient, madam. Gradient across the wall.
You tell, is it directly related or inversely related? When the gradient increases,
When the gradient increases, like in aortic stenosis, the intensity of this frequency also increases. So direct relation is there, madam.
okay. Gradient increases, frequency increases. Why it is medium frequency here?
It is
What else determines the frequency? One is the gradient, other is the volume of flow.
volume
The
of
flow volume increases, the whole blood has to go through the aortic valve, right? So when the volume flow increases, frequency decreases.
Okay, madam.
Okay. So it's inversely related there. So this thrill, when do you feel the thrill? Low frequency or high frequency?
High frequency, madam.
Low frequency.
Thrill is felt when it is low frequency or medium frequency. Okay. High frequency murmurs like AR, you don't generally get thrilling. So thrill is felt when it is mixed frequency or low frequency. Like in MDM of MS,
Yes, madam.
thrill is more common.
Yes.
That is low frequency. Whereas MR, thrill is less common because it is high frequency. When there is severe MR, you may get a thrill because the flow increases. So the frequency decreases. So you get medium frequency. Then you may feel the thrill. These two things you should remember. The frequency is affected by
Gradient
flow as gradient. Gradient is directly related. Flow is inversely related.
Okay.
Then the intensity and thrill depends on the frequency.
Yes, madam.
The frequency, high frequency, unlikely to get a thrill.
And MR is a high frequency murmur.
MR is high frequency, but because the gradient is high. But when the volume of flow is more, that means severe MR, you may get medium frequency. That is when you get thrill. That is why they said thrill and the intensity can be related to the severe, especially in rheumatic MR, not in ischemic and other MRs.
Okay.
Is it clear?
AS, the flow will decrease. No?
AS, when flow decreases, what happens to the murmur? Flow decreases when there is LOD. So then the murmur intensity comes down.
It's frequency, madam.
Flow, the flow has to go through the aortic valve, right?
Yes, ma'am.
What happens to the frequency when in the apex? Yes, Marma. Hear
Madam,
anything?
high frequency murmurs get high frequency sounds get easily heard, madam, at apex. Musical components.
So which
Well,
type of aortic stenosis it is heard?
Volular aortic stenosis, madam.
Correct,
Gal-
valve, which calcified aortic valve, because this calcified aortic valve, there is no fusion, it just thickens and calcified, so it can vibrate to a certain extent, and then high frequency of that is heard in the apex.
The apex.
Yeah, in rheumatic you don't hear. In that Gallavorodines, whatever you say, it is not. See, Gallavorodine is not just the murmur heard in the apex. It is the high frequency components of the murmur heard in the apex, which can be mistaken for MR.
MR.
So that happens in calcified aortic valve.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Go ahead.
Other system examinations, madam, normal. CNS, respiratory system and per abdomen were normal. Final diagnosis. Situs solatus, levocardia, acquired valvular heart disease, mostly degenerative etiology, severe aortic stenosis, without evidence of congestive cardiac failure or infective endocarditis, with mild pulmonary venous hypertension and mild pH, and the patient is in normal sinus rhythm, now in NYHA class 2.
Okay, no precipitating factors.
No precipitating factors.
How did you say it? What are the points here to say that it is severe aortic stenosis?
Starting from his pulse, madam, narrow pulse.
Maybe symptoms also it can include exertional syncope.
Yes, starting from symptoms, he is having dyspnea, syncope, then it is narrow pulse pressure with low volume, slow rising leg picking pulse with carotid trill and palpable.
They will not tell you severity.
Yes, with palpable and apicocarotid delay. These two things are.
One is pulse, you said, correct. Then, yeah, apicocarotid delay, correct. Then
Palpable S4, madam, palpable S4.
S4, heaving epic impulse.
Heaving epic impulse, S2, single S2. And, late picking.
Loud late picking.
Loud and late picking.
Okay.
ECG.
Anything else?
No,
yeah,
no.
go to investigation.
Investigation. Nikhil, can you please put ECG in this?
So, what do you expect in the ECG?
Because of the pressure roller states, I would expect the ECG will be having left ventricular hypertrophy with a strain pattern, madam.
Means strain pattern is what?
Strain pattern means, madam, T wave inversion, ST and STT changes, T wave inversion mainly in lateral leads V5, V6, and also in one end wave.
So there will be absence of Q waves.
Septal loss of septal Q waves will be there, madam. Loss of septal Q wave.
So V5, V6. Normally, you get a small Q wave which disappears in
and
pressure over. Yeah, then ST depression with asymmetric T inversion.
Q wave inversion.
Do you get any other chamber enlargement you expect here?
LA enlargement is one of the sensitive sign for this.
LA maybe. Which is the most sensitive ECG finding for LA?
LA, yes, madam.
Which is the most sensitive ECG finding for left atrial enlargement?
Terminal in V1, terminal P wave 0.04 millisecond, madam. Morris index positive.
Morris index. Which is the most specific?
Interpeak distance.
Macros index. Macros index.
Interpeak distance more than
Intermitral.
Macros index, madam.
Macros illa. Interpeak distance more than 40 milliseconds.
Okay.
So read the ECG.
Yes, madam. This is 12 lead ECG with normal standardization. Rate is around 75 per minute regular and a normal sinus rhythm. Axis is 45 degree. P waves are normal. Slight PR prolongation is there, madam, to 205 milliseconds. by Sokolow and Lion voltage criteria, that is S wave in V1 and R wave in V5, 30 more than 35 millimeter, with T wave inversion in 1 AVL and V5 V6. So suggest of left ventricular hypertrophy with strain pattern.
Okay. Okay. Now LE.
Just
LE. Now left atrial enlargement.
hello.
Ah,
Yes, madam.
what is the QRS axis?
QRS axis is 45 degree. Madam.
Normal. Okay. Now LA you said. Okay.
No.
Good.
Chest X-ray, madam.
Mhm.
Dr. Nikhil.
Criteria for LVH.
This R wave, madam. R wave in AVL more than 11, as per Sokolow Lion criteria.
What is Cornell voltage criteria?
Cornell voltage criteria is different for male and female. In male, R wave in AVL and S wave in V3 more than 28, or R in AVL or plus S in V3 more than 20 in females. Register of left ventricular hypertrophy.
Read the X-ray. Very classical.
This is a chest X-ray, PA view. Gastric fundus is seen on the left side. Situs, solitis levocardia. CT ratio is 0.4. No cardiomegaly is there. Then
So before you should say some other things also, no? You said AP view, EA view, then what else?
over penetration, madam. More than 4 intervertebral spaces can be seen.
Hmm.
Then
Positioning,
sorry, madam.
position of the patient.
Slightly rotated.
Okay. Okay. It's
Can we
over
see in
penetration.
scoliosis is there? So
Seems to be some scoliosis.
No, that
Sit
is
there.
trachea. That is trachea. No scoliosis. Trachea shows, madam, left-sided indentation suggestive of left aortic arch. Prominent aortic knuckle is present, and on the right side, ascending aorta seems to be dilated, madam.
CT ratio.
CT ratio, I told madam, 0.4. No cardiomegaly is there.
But what is the striking feature on the left border?
A prominent aortic knuckle, madam.
Now what happens classically? You don't get cardiomegaly, but you get a rounded contour of the LV.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is no LAE, no pulmonary.
No.
Is the pulmonary venous hypertension, huh?
Yeah, yes, madam. Slight, you can see.
Okay. Ascending aorta is very prominent.
Yes, madam.
So you should. How do you differentiate X-ray of AS from AR?
In AR we'll have cardiomegaly, madam, and in AS we'll have the post-synovial dilatation will be there, and
Aortic dilatation in AR.
sorry, madam. Hello. Sorry.
Yeah. AR, do you get aortic dilatation or not?
Yeah, we can get, madam, in AR also, but
You get aortic. Yeah, even arch gets dilated in AR.
yes, madam. Post-stenotic dilation is
Yes, you get ascending aortic dilatation in AR. Even the arch gets dilated because more blood is going. No?
Yes, madam. Then cardiomegaly will be present in the aortic regurgitation, madam.
That is very striking.
Prominent aortic knuckle.
Here ascending aorta is dilated.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I have told it.
He told that that's prominent ascending. You have to look for especially.
And also, madam, valvular calcification will be present in case of aortic stenosis. In this patient, I tried, but not seen in this PA view.
It's difficult. You have to do a fluoroscopy for that.
We will get it.
Where do you look for the aortic calcification?
In chest X-ray PA view, we draw a line from right cardiophrenic angle to the pulmonary bay, and if this
Don't say
calcification
pulmonary, left hilum.
left hilum, and if
The bay term is used only when it is concave in patients with Decrease pulmonary blood flow like TOF. So, you say left hilum.
Left hilum. Okay, sorry. So if calcification or prosthesis anything is above this line suggests of aortic wall, and if it is below, this suggests of mitral wall. In lateral X-ray, lateral chest X-ray, we draw a line from apex to the hilum, and if on this line, on anterior and middle third, tricuspid wall prosthesis or tricuspid wall calcification can be seen if it is, and anterior to this line will be aortic wall, and posterior to the line will be the mitral wall.
You do lateral X-rays regularly or just theoretically you're saying?
No, madam, not regularly. It's our
Okay.
hospital don't do it usually.
Yeah. Some exams they keep lateral X-ray, so then you'll be in trouble. Better you know about something about lateral X-ray. Okay. Do you have anything else?
Echocardiography report I am having, madam. Can I read? Madam?
Yeah.
Aortic wall velocity across the aortic wall maximum is 4.5 meter per second. Peak by
No,
mean.
first you see morphology of the aortic valve.
Madam, it is calcified, severely calcified aortic wall.
So not able to differentiate whether bicuspid or tricuspid.
Yeah, could not be.
So when it is severely calcified, difficult to differentiate. Only on the table, surgeon should be able to tell us whether it's bicuspid or not. See, bicuspid aortic valve, even after aortic valve replacement, they can get aortic dilatation. So you have to follow them up. That is the significance of knowing whether it's bicuspid or.
Yes. Aortic wall peak by mean gradient is 81/50 millimeters of mercury. Aortic wall area calculated by continuity equation 0.9 centimeters square, suggests of severe aortic stenosis, and indexed aortic wall area is 0.5 centimeters square per meter square. Left ventricular ejection fraction is 60%, madam, and we have GLS also -15.
No, I want something more about your. You said how do you explain is dyspnea now? LV function is 60% normal. So how do you explain is dyspnea?
LV diastolic dysfunction can also cause, madam.
We look for that.
We look for that. Type 3 diastolic dysfunction. Type 2, sorry. Actually, I don't have, madam, exact report, but I remember it was type 2 diastolic dysfunction was there, moderate.
So was there early dilatation? It has to be there.
It has to be there.
So what do you want to do now? So it's severe aortic stenosis. You got it from history itself, then findings confirmed.
Yes,
CG, X-ray, echo, everything is confirmed. Severe aortic stenosis.
Yes,
Most probably degenerative.
aortic
As I told you, should look for the aortic root dilatation here. Okay, you should look for the annulus, sinus, and the ascending aortic dilatation, and also look for the coarctation of aorta when suspect the bicuspid aortic valve.
Yes.
Then what next? Because here X-ray shows ascending aortic dilatation. Any mention about the aortic size? The echo?
No, madam. Actually, I am having only 4 to 5 readings only. I have just written, madam.
So should be careful to look for that because X-ray.
Coronary angiogram has already been done, madam. It was
So
normal.
what are the indications for coronary angio in valvular heart disease? Another classical question.
Patient is having chest pain, and in patient is more than 40 years age group, and if patient is having risk factors for coronary disease.
Wait, male more than 40 years, female more than? Female what?
Postmenopausal female.
Postmenopausal. Age is not same for both.
Yes, madam. 40 postmenopausal.
So you should go going fast express. Then risk factors for coronary artery disease, angina, LV dysfunction,
and if
previous coronary artery disease or so. Yeah. Okay. So coronary is normal. Next.
is not.
Next the question will go for.
We plan for, madam.
What are the indication for surgery?
Surgery. Plan for wall replacement.
What are the indication for surgery?
Stage D. Hello.
Huh?
Hello.
Yeah. Application.
And we can do for aortic wall replacement. Then asymptomatic with
Asymptomatic severe AS. When do you advise it?
LV dysfunction.
EF less than EF 50% cutoff. Then
In that case, or if asymptomatic severe AS patient with other valvular heart disease, or in case if patient is having coronary disease also, then we can concomitantly do the surgery both.
root replacement also. If patient is going for aortic root replacement, then
In that case also, these are the class.
severe AS also you'll have to replace. Then once this diagnosis is over, all these your low flow, low gradient, paradox, all those things will you will read up. Those things will be coming into discussion. Then surgical versus TAVI, and then you're all, I think, experts in TAVI. Are you doing in your hospital? Is it planned for TAVI or surgical?
When this patient was posted 3 months back only, surgical SAVR was done, madam. We don't have generally TAVR procedure.
Yes, he underwent surgery, surgical AVR or transcutaneous? He already underwent surgery?
Yeah, he already underwent surgical aortic wall replacement, SAVR.
Okay. Okay, fine. So all those things will be discussed. Medical management?
Medical management in the form of
What drug was extensively tried in these patients? Which drug was tried?
Statins.
Statins, no role now.
Statin, atorvastatin, rosuvastatin. So many trials.
These trial and Astromer trial.
Yeah, it did not show any benefit unless there was hypercholesterolemia. Okay, what drugs are contraindicated? Suppose this patient has angina, can you give nitrates?
Nitrates.
Huh?
We can't give, madam.
Yeah, they will develop syncope.
Yeah.
See, generally beta blockers are contraindicated, vasodilators are contraindicated. Most of the drugs are contraindicated. So once they become symptomatic, surgery only. So no EF is a contraindication for AVR. Maybe you'll have to look for contractile reserve. How do you do that?
LV contractile reserve. We calculate the stroke volume index. Stroke volume, if it is more than 20% suggestive of left ventricle contractile reserve.
With what? Dobutamine.
Dobutamine stress, madam. Low dose dobutamine stress.
You have to start with dobutamine stress.
Low
Okay,
dose,
all these things will be discussed. Then, okay, post surgery, any drug is shown to. What valve you advise for him? Surgery?
This is a 66-year-old male, madam. So it's better to have bioprosthetic valve.
Bioprosthetic, yeah. Above 70, always bioprosthetic. Between 50 to 70,
We can
according
have,
to the guideline, either it's bioprosthetic or mechanical prosthesis.
yes.
Degeneration is less common, especially in aortic position. So you can use bioprosthetic valve. So any drug can be useful in this situation. How do you manage post surgery?
Anticoagulation, madam.
Hmm.
Anticoagulation will give, madam, warfarin for first 3 months with a INR of 2.5 to 3.5, and as it is bioprosthetic.
2 to 3. Aortic position is 2 to 3, unless they have
any risk factors like.
Risk factors, yeah. Otherwise, he doesn't have risk factors, no? What are the risk factors?
But madam, initially first 3 months we will keep INR of 2.5 to 3.5. After 3 months.
No, in natural position it is 2.5 to 3.5. Aortic position, no risk factor, it is 2 to 3.
Okay, madam. Okay.
Which valve you can have 1.5 to 2 INR?
This wall or X.
1x. That is only in aortic position. 1.5 to 2, supposed to be less thrombogenic. Okay. So, Arun, any role for statin?
Ma'am, it helps in reducing the degeneration of bioprosthetic valves.
Yeah. So this was asked in the last exam actually. Even I didn't know. Statin shown to reduce degeneration by prosthetic valve.
Bioprosthetic valves.
Yes. Anything else? You aspirin, no? After that? 3 months.
After
Lifelong yeah.
aspirin will give, madam. This is bioprosthetic also will not give warfarin. We will continue aspirin only.
Correct. Anyway. Okay, it's becoming 9 o'clock. Any other doubts or any other question?
Ma'am, one doubt, ma'am. Actually, there is single S2. How to say loud P2 and PAH?
No, this A2 what is you going? You decide by the company keeps, right?
I couldn't hear you properly.
No, there is echoing. That's what is your question?
Yes, ma'am.
He's asking, I think, how to tell loud P2 in the presence of single S2.
Yeah.
That is the thing he was asking.
Single, that is a little difficult issue. Maybe depending on the intensity, your experience.
Ma'am, one more doubt, ma'am.
Anything else, Arun? Huh?
Ma'am?
Anybody else?
If I tell single S2, I will always tell normal P2 or normal A2. That's all.
If it is heard, if you think it's P2 and it is heard.
If it is very loud and some associated findings, then we can tell.
Yeah, other big parasonally, even other things.
Mm.
Maybe by intensity you have to tell, though it is
Single we can sometimes tell.
If it is just equal to A2, that range may be difficult, but if it is louder, we can. In the elderly people, if you hear the P2 itself, it's difficult, no? We may not hear the P2 in elderly people, we may hear only A2. So, if it is, I think to use some judgment. Okay.
Madam, one doubt. Madam, which type of apex will get in MR?
MR?
Sorry, MR, which type of thrill will get, madam? Thrill.
Systolic thrill.
Oh, systolic.
You may, in rheumatic MR, severe MR, you can.
Case, ma'am, in this case, he has told left ventricular systolic pressure is about 250 mmHg. So how to say, ma'am, if I'm not heard wrong?
Depends on the systolic pressure plus the gradient.